The Silk Road was far more than a trade route. It was the ancient world's superhighway of culture, conquest, and covert operations. Stretching over 4,000 miles from China to the Mediterranean, this vast network of land and sea paths wasn't a single road, but a sprawling web connecting empires, merchants, nomads, and adventurers across Asia, the Middle East, and Europe. While silk, spices, and gold captured the imagination, what truly traveled these paths was influence, carried not just in the form of goods, but in ideas, religions, technologies, and secrets. Behind the flowing caravans and bustling markets were spies embedded in merchant caravans, empires competing for control, and entire cities rising and falling based on who controlled the trade. It all began in the 2nd century BCE, when the Han dynasty of China sought to expand westward. The Chinese Emperor Wudi dispatched an emissary named Zhang Qian, whose mission was to find allies against nomadic tribes like the Xiongnu. But what Zhang found instead was something far more valuable: routes that could link China to the powerful kingdoms of Central Asia. His journey, though riddled with capture and danger, opened the door to what would later become the Silk Road. The Han court quickly realized the strategic and economic potential, exporting silk, porcelain, and lacquerware to the West, while importing horses, glassware, and exotic spices. But silk wasn't just cloth. It was currency, status, and secrecy. So prized was Chinese silk that the process of making it was a closely guarded secret, punishable by death if leaked to outsiders. And this secrecy sparked an entirely different kind of traffic: espionage. Rival empires, from the Romans to the Persians and later the Byzantines, sought to uncover the mysteries of silk production. In one of the most fascinating acts of ancient industrial espionage, 2 Nestorian Christian monks smuggled silkworm eggs out of China hidden in hollow bamboo canes, delivering them to the Byzantine Empire around the 6th century CE. This act broke China's monopoly and transformed the global balance of textile power forever. But espionage along the Silk Road wasn't just about silk. Merchant caravans often carried imperial spies posing as traders, gathering information on foreign governments, military movements, and the state of rival economies. Even religious pilgrims like the famous Chinese monk Xuanzang traveled to India under official cover, documenting not only Buddhist texts, but the political landscape of foreign lands. As trade flourished, so did the cities that straddled the Silk Road. Places like Samarkand, Bukhara, and Kashgar were more than rest stops. They were cosmopolitan hubs where East met West. In these cities, Chinese scholars debated with Persian poets, Greek artisans traded with Indian merchants, and Islamic astronomers studied with Buddhist monks. Ideas flowed as freely as goods. Papermaking, which originated in China, spread westward via the Silk Road and revolutionized the Islamic world and later Europe. Gunpowder, compasses, medical knowledge, even numerals, all moved through these channels, silently rewriting human civilization. But wealth attracts conflict. Control of the Silk Road became a source of constant struggle. The Tang dynasty fought bitterly with Tibetan and Arab forces for dominance over Central Asian routes. The Islamic caliphates, especially during the Abbasid period, heavily invested in securing these lines for both trade and expansion. The Mongols, under Genghis Khan, and later his descendants, arguably brought the Silk Road to its most secure and expansive era. With a vast empire stretching from Korea to Hungary, the Mongols enforced strict laws, protected caravans, and encouraged trade like never before. This Pax Mongolica, a kind of enforced peace under Mongol rule, allowed merchants and missionaries to travel vast distances with an unprecedented level of safety and speed. Yet, even in times of peace, the road remained a channel for something darker: disease. The same routes that carried spices and ideas also carried rats, fleas, and the plague. It was along the Silk Road that the Black Death traveled from Central Asia into the Middle East and Europe, wiping out as much as 1/3 of the European population by the mid-14th century. The very web that connected the world had also made it dangerously vulnerable. In this way, the Silk Road was both a lifeline and a curse, an artery of civilization that could just as easily spread death as prosperity. Religion, too, found a fast track along these paths. Buddhism traveled from India into China, Korea, and Japan, carried by both pilgrims and missionaries. Islam spread eastward into Central Asia, reaching as far as Western China. Nestorian Christianity, though later suppressed, reached all the way to Mongolia and even China during the Tang Dynasty. The Silk Road didn't just connect territories, it connected souls, reshaping the spiritual landscape of 3 continents. Over time, as sea routes gained prominence and the age of exploration dawned, the importance of the Silk Road began to fade. The rise of the Ottoman Empire made land trade with the East more difficult for European powers, spurring them to seek oceanic alternatives, leading to the discovery of the Americas and the birth of globalization as we know it. But even as the caravans dwindled, the Silk Road left a permanent mark on history. Its echoes live on in the blended cultures of Central Asia, the hybrid architecture of old trading cities, and even in modern China's Belt and Road Initiative, a geopolitical strategy that in many ways mirrors the ambitions of ancient emperors. Today, the Silk Road is often romanticized as a trail of exotic goods and adventurers, but its true story is far more complex. It was a highway of ambition and risk, where wealth and danger were never far apart. It connected the ambitions of emperors with the hands of humble traders. It made the world smaller long before globalization became a buzzword. And most of all, it reminds us that history isn't just shaped by wars and kings, but by the flow of goods, the spread of ideas, and the courage of those who dared to travel far beyond the known. The Silk Road wasn't just a road. It was a living artery of civilization, and its hidden history is one of the greatest stories ever told.